First of all, I'm so sorry it took so long, but you'll see why soon. Welcome back to ClayClan for Year 4. Please check out the other videos first, as this will not make sense by itself. And oh boy, what a year it was. Before we get to the lineups, I have an animatic for you all. I did say last year that if things lined up with the rogues, I would come up with something to tie it all up. This happened around 2/3 into the year in Leaffall. The only extra context you need is that the rogues, while being referred to by name, don't exist in-game. Their designs and names are taken from an old clan of mine. For future rogue encounters, I will be reusing these folks. It will be bloody, so viewer discretion is advised. Let's get into it. The hunting patrol led by Palestar is interrupted when they come face to face with a group of rogues. The leader of the pack, Light, spots Chickpea and taunts her for losing her territory to them. She says she's a coward for hiding behind the clan cats. She also throws a sneer at Swift-River and Fringemud, calling them dead cats walking. Palestar growls a warning to leave, but the rogues are only spurred on more and the fighting starts. Chickpea is the primary target and gets accosted by two rogues. Her face is slashed by Briarfang, but she retaliates with a blow that sends the rogue reeling. Ember's attack is blocked by Antler Shard, who shields the currently half-bind Chickpea. Palestar and Swift-River fight against Light, who is quickly overwhelmed by the 2-on-1 but keeps fighting. Swift-River keeps an eye out for how the rest of the fight is faring. Fringemud is quickly cornered and has to swipe at his attacker not to get his guts torn out. Swift-River steps in to defend him and manages a hit on Bluebell, who, in rage, swipes at his throat, slashing it open. Bluebell prepares to go for the kill, saying how they're going to finish the job this time, but Fringemud pounces on them. Swift-River still lives, but Fringemud gets his eyes clawed for his efforts. Fringemud struggles against the rogue, but before either cat can react, Palestar charges at Bluebell, latching onto the rogue's throat. When he lets go, Bluebell falls to the ground, dead. Palestar turns to the rogue leader and threatens that if they dare attack ClayClan again, he has no qualms about hunting them all down once and for all. Light sneers, but turns tail and retreats, followed by the others with no care for their fallen comrade. And that's that. A lot more brutal than I was expecting, but hey, it's a rogue fight. I based the events of the animatic on a real patrol event. I just made some rolls for how each cat did in the fight and sorted out the details later. Nobody died or got injured in game, so I only rolled for possible injuries, which you'll be seeing later. Unfortunately, we did have 2 deaths this year, so let's hop on over to StarClan. First in the lineup is Splashflower, who died in early Greenleaf trying to save Palestar from drowning. He wasn't successful and Palestar lost a life. I feel so bad for Splashflower. Overall, he pretty much blended into the background up until his death, so there's not much to say. He never did confess to Weasel Whisker, who was already involved in another relationship. He was never jealous during any of this, which I commend. He probably didn't want to bother them even if being poly might have been an option. They were very close still, and Splashflower feels bad about leaving his friends behind. Our last cat to die this year is Palestar. This was really unexpected. He'd gone 3 years with all his lives intact only to lose them all in 1 year. As mentioned before, Palestar drowned alongside Splashflower, but the rest of his lives were lost in early Leaf Bear when he was on patrol and got mauled by a pack of dogs. Since this is an event that happened over the time skip, I don't have the details. But based on other stuff, I might retcon this to have been a setup. On his life before his death, you may notice that Palestar is now bloodthirsty. This switch happened very early on, and this is why I depicted him as aggressive in the rogue animatic. I also gave him a higher chance to kill his opponent, which he rolled. Palestar gets to be in StarClan due to his kill being made in defense and because he never acted on his more troubling thoughts, which he didn't even have many of. Despite the clan's unfortunate run-ins with rogues, Palestar was pretty open to new blood in the clan. I don't know how this might have developed if he'd survived, but in life he never made any of the new members feel isolated. There's one more thing to feel bad about. A moon before his death, Small J announced that she was expecting kids. Pale Star never got to meet their leader in life, having to contend with watching his family from the stars. So, he stumbled a bit near the end, but I think Pale Star left behind a pretty good legacy as the first leader of ClayClan. And speaking of legacy, we have a leader ceremony to get to. Roastrat leans on the new medicine cat Cinderbeetle as they are guided to where StarClan influence is felt strongest. Small J leads them through the plains and into the mountains. They follow her through a small cavern that opens up into a small cave hall, the stone walls on all sides reflecting and twinkling with moonlight. Small J instructs Roastrat to lie down anywhere where the reflections can reach her. As Rostrat's vision is filled with starlight, the pain in her head fades away. The first thing Rostrat sees is Ghostpaw, ClayClan's StarClan guide. He expresses his excitement over getting to headline Rostrat's leadership ceremony. He presses his nose against hers to give her a life for happiness. Ghostpaw steps aside to give room for the late deputy and former mentor of Rostrat. Bernard Pelt commends her for being able to put the clan's needs above her feelings and gives her a life for judgment. Carnation Leap is next, and she tells Rostrat that she doesn't blame her for Oddheather's actions and gives her a life for acceptance. Rostrat grits her teeth as the life rushes into her. Beetleflood and Turtlepaw approach her next. There's no doubt in Beetleflood's eyes that StarClan made a good choice in leader. Rostrat has demonstrated her faith in StarClan time and time again, and it is his honor to give her, his former mentor, a life for faith. Before Rostrat can receive her next life, Beetleflood interrupts and reintroduces Turtlepaw as Turtle Dapple. She smiles as she gives Rostrat a life for confidence, the sensation feeling like a warm nest surrounded by loved ones. As they leave, Turtle Dapple asks Rostrat to look after their brother for them. Luna thanks ClayClan for taking him in, despite him not surviving long, and hopes that the clan is welcoming to others as it was to him. He gives Rostrat a life for bravery. Hollowbumble steps forward to give Rostrat a life for serenity. She reassures Rostrat she's almost done. Rostrat tears up as her best friend approaches. Splashflower smiles, saying what a profound honor it is to grant a life to such a lovely cat. Splashflower cannot stop purring as he bestows upon Rostrat a life for love. Finally, Pale Star steps forward. There is pride in his gaze as he stares into Rostrat's eyes. He gives her a life for strength to overcome her fears. Pale Star hails Rostrat by her new name, Rosestar, telling her that her old life is no more. She is granted guardianship of ClayClan and is told to use her new power wisely. The cats cloaked in starlight hail Rosestar's new name in support, leading in a new era for ClayClan. So, we now have Rosestar. Conveniently enough, Pale Star was the 9th cat in StarClan, so he really did die at the earliest possible time for us to have a proper leadership ceremony. Back to Rosestar. I'm drawing her together with Weasel Whisker and Shellbramble because they're all dating each other. Shellbramble was found pretty much first thing this year, and Weasel Whisker is the deputy. More on that in a little bit. Let's discuss Rosestar on her own first. Back when she was deputy, Rosestar was still reeling over Oddheather's betrayal, but with talks with her mates and her friends, she had to come to the conclusion that there's very little she could do to remedy the situation. If Oddheather wished to repent, it would be wholly up to her, and Rosestar has since moved on from Oddheather. As Pale Star died fairly late in the year, Rosestar hasn't been leader for all that long, but she has settled into the role well enough. The beginning of her leadership was pretty touch and go, as she was mostly incapacitated by head damage. This was caused by falling into a landslide where the rest of the patrol had to dig her out. She was convinced, however, that one of them had pushed her. The accused, a new member of the clan, denied this and managed to talk her into thinking that she was confused due to her head damage. And Rostar did believe this for the longest time, until the same happened to her daughter, Antlershard, who accused the same cat. Rostar, much more willing to believe her daughter than an outsider, chose to exile this cat, who turned out to be an ex-rogue. Well, less ex and more current, if his actions are to be believed. While there have been no issues with any of the other outsiders invited into the clan, Rostar thinks that they should be a bit more careful with who they invite in. Now, back to the deputy situation. Rostar chose Weasel Whisker, and while that might reek of nepotism, there really aren't that many cats with the required experience. Splashflower might have been a candidate had he lived. Since Weasel Whisker is still not the most experienced, I imagine he's performing his deputy duties in tandem with Shellbramble. Since he's mates with both the leader and deputy, it would be awkward to exclude him from any official discussions, as he would hear of them anyway. So he's taken on a role as kind of co-deputy. Though I was a bit confused why Rostar would choose the younger, less experienced cat for the position, so I had to extrapolate a bit. A thing I've noticed with Shellbramble is that despite his compassionate personality, he makes rude comments and gets into a lot of arguments with his clanmates. Just this year he got into a spat with Fringemud again and insulted Sweet River's insecurities. To reconcile this, I am saying that Shellbramble has a terminal case of foot-in-mouth disease and has a bad habit of getting defensive when called out on it. He wants to be nice and generally appreciates his clanmates, but the guy has no filter and gets everyone's feelings hurt in the process. And this is why Rostar chose Weasel Whisker over Shellbramble for the official position. They still love him though. Overall, these three have done well. Weasel Whisker has settled into the role with no major issues, and the flowers he's wearing he got them from Small J. Shellbramble had to be caught up to everything that went down while he was gone, especially Otheader's situation. I imagine he doesn't feel the most gracious towards her. And that's it for the leadership polycule. Let's move on to the medicine then, where Small J is not, she's in the nursery. This is Cinderbeetle, a 64-moon-old adventurous loner. He joined the clan after his old home was swept away in a flood, and he found himself in ClayClan's lands after dreaming of cats cloaked in stars. He didn't need to be sold on the idea of a dry den, and joined immediately. At first, he joined the clan as a warrior, as he wasn't aware of his skills in medicine. Around the time Small J got pregnant, she was looking into if any of the current warriors were interested in switching tracks to medicine, and Cinderbeetle discovered his new talent. He hadn't been too attached to warrior duties, so the choice wasn't hard. Then again, he's not too attached to the medicine cat duties either, but it's what he's good at, and it does give him a higher sense of purpose. He's still wrapping his head around the more spiritual aspects of the job, but as he was personally gotten dreams, he's not a StarClan denier or anything. The idea was for him to be running things while Small J was in the nursery, with some guidance from her, but Cinderbeetle caught white cod that developed into green cod near the start of Leaf Bear, so that plan got thrown out pretty quick. He's since recovered and picked up the slack, but the experience has left him a bit intimidated, since without Small J, it still would have been his responsibility to take care of the clan despite being sick or injured. He's since joined Small J in her campaign to recruit more medicine cats. And now, onto the warriors. One of our oldest warriors is Chickpea, who did turn out to have history with the rogues as one of their victims. I gave her a 50-50 shot of either being an ex-rogue or their victim, and she rolled the latter. She also rolled to have a bad wound, so I randomly picked a scar from the in-game list and wrote her fight around that. She still has vision in the affected eye, fortunately. The rogue encounter has shaken her quite a bit, but due to the support of her clanmates, she feels secure within the clan. She also had the chance to flee and leave the clan entirely, but she stood her ground. Some clanmates had been suspicious of her due to her being fairly tense whenever the rogues were brought up, with Thornfeather specially trying to pry her secrets out of her. I think Chickpea just wanted to leave her old life behind her. In relation to that, Chickpea was seen arguing, borderline fighting with a loner named Beetle. That same moon, her status was of her feeling really sad but trying not to let it show. I'm saying that Beetle was either a close friend or mate of Chickpea's, as they don't look related, and that the fight was over Chickpea's past choice to flee rather than fight the rogues. Interestingly enough, this happened a moon before the rogue fight, which makes me think Beetle was warning her. But this also means that Chickpea had known about the future attack and said nothing, which is, I guess we can't always be perfect. Beetle is now an outsider in game and has a chance of joining the clan on her own, and I'm not going to influence that, but just based on current vibes, I don't see that happening. Luckily, the rest of the year was fairly calm for Chickpea. Quakeflick has settled in well and has found friendship with Thornfeather, Weaselwhisker and Frostlily. She's gladly been drama-free except for one thing. Fairly early on, Quakeflick developed a crush on Fringemud. She had been getting along with him and realized her feelings when she was nervous to sit next to him at a clan gathering. Furthermore, he actually flirted with her. So color her surprised when she confessed to him and got soundly rejected. He was of the opinion that they just wouldn't work out. She hasn't been too bummed about it, and Fringemud does have a sliver of romantic like for her back, so maybe not all is lost. This is just a shift that came out of absolute nowhere. Though they are both righteous, so there is something in common? I don't know. Next up is Flare, a rebellious former loner that was found injured by the Thunderpath. It took 5 months for his broken jaw to heal, and not without leaving a nasty scar. He's once again a case of a newbie with no strong attachments, though he does have the tiniest crush on Fringemud and the tiniest dislike on Small J. I don't think Flare much appreciated the hassle of eating with a broken jaw. Fortunately, Flare has been spared suspicion of being another rogue spy due to being at death's door when the clan found him. He was also a medicine cat candidate that I was considering, as his in-game generated backstory mentioned him helping all those who wandered by, but as he doesn't have a good relationship with Small J, he hasn't volunteered this knowledge. Since he's rebellious, I can't see him choosing to work under someone he dislikes, so for now he is a warrior. Things might change when Small J retires or dies, so I'll be keeping watch on that. Next up is Swift River, who thankfully recovered from Yellow Cough fairly quickly and fully mentored Dry Swipe. As seen in the animatic, Swift River got badly injured in the rogue fight. He gets 2 scars since his status was rolled as critical. I can't imagine the encounter being too great for him, as his siblings were killed by this same group, and he himself was almost killed. Hopefully a victory, while none of his making, has given him some peace of mind. He was caught off guard by Pale Star's death, and it took a while for him to accept. He really did see him as a father. Now, though, he wants to be there for his mother and is taking his role as big brother very seriously. He's been the main babysitter while Small J is busy with her medicine cat duties. In other news, he has a crush on Frostlily. With this being a recent development, there's not much to say, but it's good that he's not holding Frostlily's parentage against her. Frostlily would have had a pretty calm year if she hadn't gotten herself stuck in another 2-leg trap. This time she escaped with only a sprain, but this is making me think that she is no way done with her solo investigation and has been trying to contact her birth parent. She's not had much luck in that regard, however. In other news, if you're wondering who Frostlily has crushes on, the answer is yes. She likes Swift River, but also Ricewipe, Thornfeather and Antler Shard. I think she's feeling indecisive, because she has been confessed to by Ricewipe twice now and Frostlily has rejected her both times. She was pretty harsh the first time round despite liking her back. This really was the year for rejections. All of her crushes are about the same strength, so there's no telling which way she'll sway. Thornfeather's been a bit nosy, but otherwise unremarkable. As mentioned before, she's good friends with Quakeflick and tried to pry into Chickpea's business when they were both in the medicine den for upset stomachs. As for her stake in the love drama, Tonefeather likes both Sweet River and Frost Lily. She drove out a small dog with the help from the latter and got some scrapes for her efforts. One thing that's worrying is that the late Splashflower wondered if Tonefeather would be going to StarClan or the Dark Forest, which is making me think she's showing some signs of sympathizing with Oddheather. We'll have to wait and see if there's anything else this could be referring to. Antlershard got the most action out of her sisters. She got through the rogue fight with no notable injuries, so that must have boosted her confidence, which might have led to her protecting Shellbramble from a fox and getting hurt. The wound got feverish for a while, but luckily she pulled through. Then near the end of the year, she was almost murdered by being shoved into a landslide, but she survived, though injured. Since the cat she accused was the same one her mother had accused, now that Rosestar was leader, and with a second accusation made by her daughter, she chose to exile the exposed rogue. Antlershard is still suffering from head damage, so she has been out of commission for Leaf Bear. Antlershard does have a single crush, Sweet River. Generally speaking, I don't know if these guys are aware of everyone else's feelings that have not been confessed. Hopefully there is some general agreement to let things be if someone doesn't get coupled up like they wanted. Ricewipe, as predicted, only needed a moon of extra training before being granted her warrior name. She was honored for her wit, and she is now fierce. The rogue attacks and the murder attempt on her mother and sister likely influenced that personality shift. Ricewipe only has eyes for Frost Lily and, as mentioned before, has been rejected twice. This hasn't seemed to discourage her, and though they could be cute together, I hope Ricewipe gives it a rest for at least a little while before the asking starts to feel creepy. And that's it for the warriors. Let's move on to Fringemud, who has retired again. He came out as trans male around the end of the year. Fringemud got pretty beat up in the fight and now has failing eyesight in both eyes. I feel so bad that the one scar he rolled was one that came with an additional disability. He does have some sight left, a little more in his right eye, but he is at risk for going completely blind. Whether or not he'll return to warrior duties is up in the air, as his previous fears of the outside world have come back with a vengeance. He had been previously injured by these same rogues, so the fight must have been pretty re-traumatizing. To make matters worse, Fringemud was the one to invite the cat who attempted to kill Rosestar and Antlershard, so he can't even trust his own judgment. On his lot on the love drama, he doesn't know about Flair's crush. Fringemud does like Quake Flick back a bit, but chose to reject her, maybe because he has a little crush on Sweet River. He had a status of how he couldn't imagine anyone but Sweet River as his mate. Well, you'd better get a move on, cause you've got so much competition. If you're still confused by the love drama, here's a diagram. I'm hoping most of these crushes fizzle out because this is a lot to juggle. Last in the lineup are Small J and her 2-moon-old son, Blizzard Kid. He's a charming puddle splasher. Small J has not been having a good time. Despite their earlier disagreements, Small J and Pale Star were excited for this litter, and despite their positions in power, they swore to put aside as much time as possible for their family. So when Pale Star died, Small J was left floundering. She had to give birth with only Cinderbeetle to help her. I want to read a straight excerpt from the game because it gave me feelings. Small J purrs sadly at the tiny, single kitten StarClan blessed her with. She sees Pale Star in his little paw pads, in his ears, eyes, and mews. Small J is thankful to Sweet River for helping with babysitting, since she's had to step up to make up for Cinderbeetle's inability to work. She's kind of frustrated with him for getting sick, but she also knows it's not really his fault. At the core of it, she's just sad she can't spend time with her family. Things have been so busy she hasn't had much time to even grieve. She's mostly gotten over her previous dislike of Rosestar and hopes to support the new leader. Blizzard Kid has been mostly oblivious to this all, having spent most of his time hanging out with Sweet River, who, while present, is not that riveting company due to his strictness. I'm hoping the kid doesn't let Small J being busy get to him in the future. And speaking of future, Blizzard Kid has yet to show any strong interest in any specific path. Small J might want him to be a medicine cat, but it's still up for him to decide. If he decides he wants to be a warrior, there's going to be some pretty fierce competition over who's going to get to mentor him. That's the clan thus far, but we're not done yet. We have 2 cats outside the clan worthy of note. The first is Bailey, who was exiled for 2 counts of attempted murder. He's the cat I've been referring to throughout the video as the rogue spy. He had joined with the explicit intention of causing trouble from the inside, but fortunately for us, he wasn't good at it, and was exposed as a rogue half a year into his stay in ClayClan. He was able to talk himself out of suspicion for his attempt at Rostar's life due to his great speaking skills, but his luck ran out when his second attempt at her daughter failed. I imagine he's joined back up with the rogues, who have not been told of his abysmal failures. He does now have better insight into the secrets of ClayClan, so maybe our trouble with the rogues is not quite over. Last is Oddheather, who I'm not redrawing. She is continuing to feel vaguely bad about her actions. She's never had any statuses of straying near ClayClan borders or seeing any old clanmates, and coupled with her exploring lands outside of ClayClan's border, this is making me think she's left the area. I'm still getting the vibe that she's only regretful due to getting caught, so I'm not too keen on kickstarting a redemption for her, nor will I be using the in-game features to either seek her out or drive her out. I don't think she's even aware of Rostar's new position or her mates. Regardless, it seems that she'll spend the rest of her life as a loner, as she hasn't expressed any interest in joining other clans or the rogues. And that's it for year 4. Wow, this was long. Please let year 5 have less stuff to draw, this was painful. Regardless, I'm pretty proud of what I've made. The original plan was to draw the animatics in full color digitally, but that was just not happening. I hope you don't mind how messy the end result was. If you'd like to stay up to date with ClayClan's development, feel free to subscribe and keep an eye out for posts where I give status updates. Well then, bye!